Welcome back to another video. And in this video, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin and its level of scarcity. And I'm making this video to help you guys understand how scarce Bitcoin actually is, and hopefully help encourage and help you guys understand that you do not need a whole entire Bitcoin. It would be nice, but you definitely do not need a whole entire Bitcoin to make some type of change in your life through buying Bitcoin, right? So here I have a little chart I made about these things called Satoshis. And if you are unaware, Satoshis are the smallest unit of a single Bitcoin. And for reference, there are 100 million Satoshis in one Bitcoin. So you can think about how there are 100 pennies in a dollar. It's kind of the same thing with Bitcoin. There are 100 million pennies, but we call them Satoshis, inside of one Bitcoin. Right? So this little chart I made right here, we have one, two, three, we have 6 columns, right? I want to focus on the sats per dollar column and the dates and the dollar price of Bitcoin, right? So these 3 columns. So in February 2010, Bitcoin was at 1 cent. And with $1, you could get a whole entire, you could get, what is it? Let me not do the math right now, but you could get 10 billion Satoshis for $1, right? So then we go down to let's skip down to 2013. So in 2013, when Bitcoin went from 1 cent, actually, let's go to June 2011. So when Bitcoin went from 1 cent to $10, then you were able to get 10 million Satoshis for $1. Then when it hit $100, you were able to get 1 million Satoshis for $1. Then when it hit $1,000, 100,000 Satoshis. Then $10,000, 10,000 Satoshis. Then at 60K, you were only able to get 1,695 Satoshis for each dollar. At 100K, which is very recent, December 2024, you are only able to get 1,000 Satoshis for $1. And now, this is not completely accurate. I think Bitcoin today, as of August 10th, 2025, Bitcoin's sitting around 118K right now as this video is being made, right? But at 117K, $1 only gets you 850 Satoshis. And at its highest peak, $123,000, only 813 Satoshis gets you only get you only get 813 Satoshis for that $1, right? Now, if Bitcoin were to hit 200K, and not if, when Bitcoin does hit 200K, you will only be able to get 500 Satoshis for $1. And eventually, if you see it in your lifetime, when Bitcoin has a market cap that has absorbed enough of all the other markets, when it does hit $1 million, you will only be able to get 100 Satoshis for $1. Now, I touched on this specific topic a little bit in my last video, but I want to go more in depth as to why this matters for you. So there's only 21 million Bitcoin to ever exist, and that equals out to 2.1 quadrillion Satoshis, right? So as the Bitcoin price rises, each dollar, as we can see, according to the chart, each dollar will get us fewer and fewer Satoshis over time as the price increases. So when Bitcoin reaches 100K plus, which it already has, you will only be buying fractions of Bitcoin. From this point on, the average person will only be able to buy fractions of a Bitcoin, which are known as sats. Now, why does that matter? Because Satoshis will become the standard for average people. Being a Bitcoiner will be like being somebody who holds a whole entire Bitcoin will be like being a multi-billionaire in today's age, right? In the current time right now, multi-billionaires are very rare. You're not going to walk down the street and turn or and walk bump into somebody and they just so happen to be a multi-billionaire. That's something very, very rare, right? I'm not saying it can never happen, but I'm saying someone like that will be very, very rare as time goes on, right? So that means you, as an early investor in Bitcoin, you need to think in sats, right? Every single Satoshi that you acquire becomes more valuable as Bitcoin adoption grows. And if not many people know this because this is something being done quietly, but blockchain blockchain technology is being integrated into the financial system across the whole entire world. That's one. And then Bitcoin adoption is growing along with that. And that's and when I say that, I mean like not retail investors, not people like me and you, actual institutions, big companies are actually investing into Bitcoin or buying Bitcoin. It's not investing in Bitcoin, you're buying Bitcoin, right? So, what does that mean for you? That means you're one of the things that you should be doing are stacking these Satoshis, right? Because the scarcity of Bitcoin is programmed into Bitcoin and it could never ever be changed. And that means that these sats that you acquire will always increasingly over time they are guaranteed to always go up in value. They store your value and they go up in value. And they go up in value not because Bitcoin is becoming more valuable, it is because dollars, fiat currency, can be printed, which means that it has no bottom, which makes it so that Bitcoin has no top. As long as world as long as the leading economies in the world, the most developed countries and the leading developing countries, if they continue to print fiat, then that would mean Bitcoin rises infinitely against these fiat dollars. And why? Because Bitcoin is the thing that has the fixed supply that can never be changed. And the dollars or any other fiat currency doesn't have a fixed supply and can always be changed with the click of a button at a printer. So that equals your sets becoming increasingly more valuable. When the average person gets priced out of ever being able to buy a whole entire Bitcoin, which is getting close to most average people being priced out, even at a 117, $118,000 price, that is pretty, that is almost, that is almost the that is almost, if not almost, then more than the average person's income as a single person. You are the average person is making this much money, if not slightly less. So it's getting to a point where someone's whole entire yearly income is being priced out by Bitcoin, right? So when Bitcoin hits 200K, people who are coming to buy Bitcoin, they're no longer buying whole entire Bitcoins unless they're multimillionaires, not even multimillionaires, multi-billionaires. You would have to be a multi-billionaire to buy this amount of Bitcoin in one day. It's not happening. And one day you're going to see yourself in the future buying something closer to like maybe 10,000 Satoshis, or maybe even 1,000 Satoshis, maybe even 500 Satoshis. And that's banking on the fact that you have $100 or $1,000 or $50 to spare in the future and actually put into Bitcoin. So to beat the curve, you want to be able to own a lot of these fractions of Bitcoin. Now, owning something like zero point zero 0.01 Bitcoin, that is a lot of Satoshis. 0.001, that's a lot of Satoshis. But when it gets to a point where you have a lot of zeros in front of the amount of Satoshis, I mean, in front of, when it gets to a point where you buy Bitcoin off of an exchange and you have this many zeros in front of the amount of Bitcoin that you're buying before you get an actual number besides zero, you're basically going to be uh, buying very, very, very small amounts of Satoshis. Now, I'm not saying that these Satoshis will never be worth anything, because doesn't matter what amount of Satoshis you buy, it literally doesn't. It will always go up in value. I don't care if you have 50 Satoshis. Those 50 Satoshis will go up in value over time. You just have to wait and see. And that's the biggest thing about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a patience game, and it's a mental game. You have to be able to be strong enough to not sell. And when I say strong enough, I don't mean physically. You need to do the research and create the conviction inside of your head. And then you have to train your brain to actually think about Bitcoin in a totally different way than how the media portrays Bitcoin to be. Because Bitcoin is actually the only asset, you can compare it to gold, but it really is the only asset that has a 100% guaranteed fixed supply. And that means that everything else is deflationary against it. It doesn't matter what you price. Homes, you can price stocks, you can price cars, you can price chicken at the grocery store, you can price anything. It'll always go down against Bitcoin. And that is because money, fiat currency, will always be printed forever, which makes it less and less valuable over time. So the highest right here on my chart that I went, at least, is $1 million and 100 Satoshis. That's what you'll get for $1. But at some point, it's going to be one Satoshi for $1. Now, it may not happen in our lifetime, but that is another great thing about Bitcoin, is that it exists obviously past your lifetime. So if you end up passing your Bitcoin down to your children or your grandchildren, probably in their lifetime, one sat will be $1. And nobody will want dollars or any other fiat currency anymore, because it's basically just worthless at that point. It's too expensive to even use. It costs you more fiat currency to use Bitcoin. I mean, to use fiat currency than it does to use Bitcoin. So, with that being said, I hope this video actually helped you guys understand why buying fractions of a Bitcoin, also known as Satoshis, is actually a very good thing, especially if you start investing right now, because as time goes on, you will see that those Satoshis, those little fractions of Bitcoin that you have, actually grow to be this exponentially great amount of value that you stored. And you'll be able to actually use and enjoy these things anywhere at any time in the world. And yeah, I know this video was kind of short, but this is something that came in my head, and I wanted to share it with you guys, and hopefully it helped you guys gain a better understanding of why you do not need one Bitcoin, and why you should focus on stacking Satoshis. Anyways, guys, have a great day, and I'll talk to you in the next video.